My new boyfriend's daughter kicked me out of their house because she said he'd ruin my life. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. God, I wish I had listened to her. Exactly 1 year ago, I met my now boyfriend, soon to be ex. He's a pilot, owns property, he also sells real estate. I was convinced this man was perfect. When we met, he told me that he had a 15-year-old daughter, that their relationship was perfect. The divorce he had with her mom was amicable. They got along, that there was no bad blood between them. I asked him point blank if there was going to be any problems with his daughter and his ex with me. He said no. But when he asked me to be his girlfriend, I said yes. When I tell you everything was good for 6 months, it was more than good. It was perfect. He was the perfect man in every single way possible. He would take me and his daughter out for lunch, and it was all good. We did have a good relationship. And I even met his ex, who was the nicest and best mother I had ever met. And you're probably wondering, when did things go bad? He asked me to move into his beautiful house, which meant that I would spend a lot more time with his daughter, and she would spend a couple of weeks out of every month with him. And that's when I started noticing she was scared of him. She would flinch whenever he would come near her. And then the unthinkable happened. Part 2 is up. That's when I realized my boyfriend's daughter was terrified of him. Now that I was living with them, her and I would have really nice conversations anytime we were together in the kitchen. Anytime he would walk into the room or come home, she would get really quiet. If he would close a door, she would flinch. This kept happening. Remember I said he's a pilot? Sometimes he would go away for 2 to 3 days. The next time we were alone, I asked her what was going on. And that's when she told me that I needed to leave. Now he would ruin my life if I stayed any longer. Then she started to cry. What she said was so unexpected and so scary. I just hugged her, waited for her to calm down, and then I asked her to tell me why she said that. She told me that he controlled her entire life. That he wouldn't let her do anything. That she couldn't have friends, couldn't go out anywhere by herself. That he would eventually start to do the same thing to me because he did the same thing to her mom. I asked my boyfriend why he broke up with his ex. He told me that they just grew apart. This is when she told me that he would keep tabs on her, follow her, made her quit her job, which by the way, she was a doctor. Also that he could make sure that she was always home with their daughter. And that the only reason the divorce was amicable was because she didn't want to have to fight him in court. Part 3 is up. My boyfriend's daughter kicked me out of their house because she said that he would ruin my life. Claim this is not my story time. It sent me on Instagram. After telling me how controlling and abusive he had been to her and her mom, he told me that I needed to leave right now because he was waiting to ask me to marry him, that once we were married, he would start to control my life like he did theirs. She then said that she could see that I wasn't believing her, so she pulls out her phone and calls her mom. She starts saying the same things, that at one point she even had to get a restraining order against him, that the only reason she lets her daughter spend so much time with him is because she's afraid that he might want custody. My relationship with him was so perfect. Just couldn't believe them. And guess what? I'm glad I didn't. I did end up leaving the house. When my boyfriend came back from his work trip, he told me that they had done this to every other girlfriend he tried to have. That it was all a lie. Girl, I almost believed them. All this drama made me feel so bad. I actually broke up with him. He gave me space for a month, but now he wants me to get back with him. I don't want to deal with his daughter and his ex. What should I ended up getting plastic surgery because my boyfriend is prettier and hotter than me. Can totally roast me in the comments, but hear me out. When he and I matched on Bumble, I was shocked that he would even want to talk to me. I knew right away that he was way out of my league and he was way prettier than me. Preparation to go on this date, I dieted for 3 weeks and I lost 7 pounds. I put 3 layers on of Skims compression Spanx. That's how desperate I was to look skinny. Colored my hair chocolate brown, got the butterfly haircut, got 1 mil of lip filler. And the day of the date, I actually got my makeup done, but it was such minimal makeup that he thought I wasn't wearing anything. By the end of those 3 weeks, I had completely transformed. And the first time he met me, he kept commenting how beautiful my skin was, how rosy my cheeks were, pretty and plump my lips were. I actually believed I had no makeup on. I realized everything I did worked. I knew from this moment on I had to keep up the act. Now, no way in hell was I ever gonna have a small waist. So I went to a plastic surgeon and I ended up getting 360 lipo. And I also got new boobulas, but they weren't huge, they were just a little bit bigger. How did I explain this? Told him I had appendicitis and that I had to get surgery. Have to go to part 2, it's up. I got liposuction because of my hot boyfriend. I knew I needed to keep up appearances, so I decided to just go ahead and get the plastic surgery. At this point, him and I had only gone on 3 dates. He kept telling me how much he liked me. So I got the 360 lipo, I got a boobie aug, only 1 size up. Got cheek and under eye filler, I got a little bit more in my lips. Told him I had appendicitis and this is why I was getting surgery. He came to my apartment twice while I was recovering. 3 weeks later, I looked so much better. And around that time is when he asked me to be his girlfriend. I kept eating healthy and working out and I kept losing weight, but I knew that I needed to keep up the makeup look. He thought I wasn't wearing any makeup when we met. Whenever I stayed over at his place, I would wake up earlier and put a little bit of makeup on. It's been a year and he still doesn't know about any of it. I don't care. I'll continue to put makeup on and style my hair in the mornings before he wakes up. My body looks a million times better now that I actually have a waist. And I've been putting in the work and gained lots of muscle. All of my friends have congratulated me for my glow up. My life has gotten so much better. People treat me better. I even got the position I wanted at work. Now I have the hottest, most amazing boyfriend. This wouldn't have happened had I not put the work into myself. Would you have done the same, or is this totally cringe? My husband signed up for my sister's OnlyFriends. Should I divorce him? Disclaimer, not my story time, instead of me on Instagram. My husband and I have a really toxic relationship. When he and I first started dating, I was extremely jealous. I would instigate fights almost every single day. Now that we're married, I'm definitely less jealous. But he's always been jealous throughout our relationship. He tries to control everything I do, down to the way I dress and even the people I can or cannot hang out with. He even insisted that I quit my job, which I did. He's invested a lot in Tesla and crypto, so he makes a lot of money without having to leave the house. Which, yes, is totally amazing. But that means he and I are together all the time. And with his jealousy, sometimes I just can't stand him. I've tried to help him with his jealousy because I used to be in that place. And when I try to talk to him about it, he just gets mad at me. Whenever he sees that I post something on Instagram, he gets angry. He says that I'm looking for attention, which of course I am, but not from guys. Everyone posts on social media because they want to show off their life. A little on my sister. We're identical twins, and we're really, really close. Unfortunately, my sister got laid off from her job last year. That's when she decided to start her OnlyFriends. I support her in everything she wants to do. She's actually making really good money from it, so she's really happy about it. A few days ago, I got on my husband's phone to look for something. When I see my sister's pictures, part 2 is up. My husband signed up for my sister's OnlyFriends. Should I divorce him? Disclaimers, is not my story time, it's gonna be on Instagram. A few days ago, I got on my husband's phone to transfer some money from his account to mine. When I started looking for his banking app, I noticed something else on his screen. I had never seen this before, so I clicked on it. And as soon as I opened it, I see my sister's pictures. And I knew it was her OnlyFriends right away. By the way, I had never told my husband that my sister had an OnlyFriends. She wouldn't even post about it on her social media. So the fact that he found it makes me believe that he had my phone bugged or something. But here's the thing. He was using a different name for his account, so it was likely that my sister did not know it was him. From there, I could see that he was following a bunch of other girls. And when I went to their messages, he had paid over hundreds of dollars every single day to all of these girls. Can you imagine how much money that is? My husband came into the room and saw me on his phone. Of course, he didn't freak out because he never thought that I would find it. But I confronted him right away. But he didn't even flinch. He said he had every right to go on OnlyFans because it was the same thing as going to any website. I told him to at least unfollow my sister, and he said that he wouldn't. He said he loved it because it was like watching me do naughty things. Then he said, "Isn't this better than cheating on you?" I was flabbergasted. Part 3 is up. My husband signed up for my sister's OnlyFriends. Should I divorce him? Disclaimers, is not my story time, it's gonna be on Instagram. That's when he told me that it was better than him cheating on me. And I was shocked. I couldn't think of anything else to say, so I threatened him. I told him that if he didn't stop following my sister, that I would start my own OnlyFriends account. Like I said, he's really jealous. So he went berserk. He ripped my phone out of my hand and threw it against the wall. Then he told me that the only reason he asked me to quit my job was so that I wouldn't be around other men. By the way, I used to be a personal trainer, and most of the time I would only train women. I told him that my sister and I wouldn't be comfortable with him looking at our OnlyFriends. It was so disturbing. Oh, and I also told him that he needed to stop controlling me, and that I could buy my own phone with my own money and start my own account. Then he came to his senses and started to apologize. And I also told him that I was suspecting that he bugged my phone, and that he was receiving my messages, because there was no other way he could have found out about my sister's account. Then he calmed down and explained things to me. He said that he had bugged my phone a few months ago because I was posting too much on Instagram and it was bothering him. So basically, he has access to my DMs and all my text messages. He promised to stop doing that and that he would buy me a new phone. And that's how he found out about my sister's OnlyFriends. He said he only signed up out of curiosity, and that he only wanted to see a few pictures and then delete it. But the more he kept looking at her pictures, the more he would think of me, and that it turned him on. And in front of me, he deactivated his account and deleted everything. He promised me that he would never do that again. Of course, I haven't forgiven him though. I haven't even spoken to him in days. But every time he sees me, he tries to kiss me and hug me. And when I push him away, he tries even harder. Honestly, I think he likes it. I do believe that he's secretly addicted to drama and that he thrives on it. I'm planning on never telling my sister about it. I don't think she'd feel comfortable around him ever again. I mean, I don't feel comfortable around him right now. I'm so confused and I don't know if I should leave him or not. He's so confused.
This is why women cannot be nice to men. Imagine getting fired because your coworker is in love with you. Because they know they can't have you, they get you fired. This actually happened to me. To this day, I will always regret the fact that I didn't do anything about it. I was working in New York City and I had my first office job ever. It was really good. I made really good money every single month. Love my little New York commute to my job. And the fact that I was working with my bestie literally next to me, it was perfect. The person that sat on the other side of me, let's call him John. John thought he was hilarious. Made jokes all the time because I wanted to keep the peace at this office and I wanted everybody to like me. I laughed at all his jokes. This is that curse that women have. You are nice to any man, you laugh at their jokes, and you talk to them. They will start liking you. When they realize that you don't like them back or that they can't have you, retaliate and they get all butthurt. One day I get an email saying that I don't need to come into work. And then I got a letter saying that I was fired. For what reason? I have no idea. They didn't say. What would you have done though? You gotta go to part 2. This is why women choose the bear. Imagine your coworker gets you fired because he knows he can't have you. That's what happened to me.
After I received my termination letter, which didn't tell me why I got fired, they actually asked my best friend to meet me somewhere to tell me that I got fired. And no, with no explanation. For 2 months, I was deeply depressed. I finally had a job for the first time in my life that paid well. Was able to help my mom financially, and suddenly the rug was pulled out from under me. 3 months later, I'm on my honeymoon. And that's when my bestie reaches out and says, "Can you talk?" That's when she tells me that she found out through somebody else. John, the guy that I sat next to at work, told the boss that several times I asked him if I could go on him and that I had basically offered myself to him. Ew! Essentially, I didn't make him feel safe in the office. Without even investigating, they fired me. The worst part is I had reached out to him asking him if he knew why I got fired. And he played completely dumb. He was like, "I don't know, but I'll find out. If you need any financial help, please let me know. If you need anything, let me know." And guess what? I didn't do anything about it. Do regret it now. And should I try to sue them or what? I f***ed my personal trainer while my husband was home. Oh my god. Welcome to The Confessional, a series where you guys send me your story times through here and I tell them here on TikTok so that you guys can get some genuine advice. From the day I met my husband, he would fat shame me. What is he, an Adonis? Made out of muscles? He's always complained about how I have a soft body and wants me to have abs like all those Insta models. I'm not the type to keep my mouth shut, so I told him to get me a personal trainer. We've been married 6 years now, and I've never bothered to go to the gym, not even one day. He likes going to the gym religiously and is in really good shape. So what? That doesn't mean that he gets to fat shame you, ever. I was actually joking about the personal trainer, but he actually agreed to it. He told me that he could only get me a male trainer, but he thought it was okay because he was a very good trainer. Never did I expect that this guy would turn my life around in the best way possible. Yes! By the way, I'm not even looking into a mirror right now. I'm reading off my cell phone. The trainer came over the next day and I was embarrassed to see how hot and attractive he was. We sat down and spoke for about 20 minutes and he asked me all about my goals. I know I must sound stupid. No, you don't. But getting the attention from such a hot guy made me feel seen again. Babe, that's because your husband doesn't make you feel seen. Now, here's the thing. I felt like he was attracted to me too. He kept staring into my eyes and would smile all the time. I was trying not to misinterpret things since he is so attractive and he probably smiles at all his clients, which he probably does. But then he started putting his hands around my waist, my shoulders, and my arms. I know the difference between a man's touch and a trainer's touch. Oh my god. This was a man's touch. We were working out in the backyard and that's when my husband came over and said he was leaving to run some errands. We finished the workout session and I was super sweaty. It was amazing. This man proceeded to stay with me for the next hour and a half talking about my goals once again. Wait, that's so sweet. 2 days later, he came over for our second session and that's when shit went down. In preparation for our second session, I drove myself to Lululemon and bought the tightest leggings I could find. I would do the same. I even bought the matching sports bra and wore a two-piece set for the first time ever. Girl, you go. Luckily, my husband had already left to the gym, so we were all by ourselves. As soon as my trainer came in through the door, he complimented me and told me that I looked amazing. A few minutes into the workout, I couldn't help myself any longer and I asked him if he was attracted to me. Damn! He answered yes right away and we both started blushing and laughing at the same time. Now that I managed to break the ice, I would leave him to make the next move. And he did. He stood behind me while I was doing some squats and I felt it. God. Girl, I want to live vicariously through you so bad. I turned around and we started making out passionately. As we were kissing, his hands started moving elsewhere, north and south. My knees were trembling. Yeah. My husband is not the most affectionate guy, so I was in much need of some loving. When we stopped kissing, we started laughing again at what we had just done. 2 minutes later, I hear my husband coming home. We quickly separated, but the next day it went further. This time my husband stayed home and we couldn't keep our hands off each other. My husband tends to lock himself in his office when he's looking at corn. And as soon as my trainer came over, he locked himself in his office, which means you know what. I knew it was our chance, so I grabbed his hand and took him to the back house. He pulled my pants down and he went at it. Then I pulled down his pants and I went at it. And then we did the dirty. As soon as we finished, we went outside and pretended like we were just done working out, which you could believe because we were both sweaty AF. It's been 2 months since I've been working out with my trainer and it's going amazing. I've managed to lose 10 pounds. I look amazing and I feel even better because every time he comes over, we end up doing it. My husband, on the other hand, has no clue and I don't care. He still continues to fat shame me, by the way, and he continues to show me pictures of girls on Instagram who he wishes I would look like. I'm pretty sure he's having an affair with his assistant. At this point, I don't care. I'm hiring a divorce lawyer and I'm getting half of everything. As you should. Should I feel guilty? I don't think he should find out that you're cheating because then you can't get half of everything. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Tell your husband about the trainer after you get a divorce. I mean, I'm sure he's gonna find out anyway. Go live your best life, get in shape, do the dirty, do whatever you want to do with this man, but be careful with your husband. Love you guys. Bye. Story time about how my grandma got married when she was 14 years old. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it's sent me on Instagram. So just picture it. I'm sitting with my 94-year-old grandma in the kitchen, and suddenly she starts talking about my grandpa. My grandpa passed away almost 10 years ago. And to be fair, they did have a wonderful marriage. By all accounts, and by all of my family's accounts, they were totally in love until the moment he took his last breath. Here's how the story goes. The first time they met, she was 12 years old. He had just gotten back from the war. She was walking home from school with her backpack, and my 27-year-old grandpa pulls up in his car. He starts to tell her that she's going to be his future wife and that he's going to talk to her parents so that they can get married. He kept inviting her into his car, but she kept saying no. He followed her home from school every single day. As my grandma is telling the story, everyone is laughing except for me. Finally, one day he followed her to her house, knocked on the door, and requested to speak to my great-grandfather. They spoke for an hour, and that's when my great-grandpa promised my grandma to my grandpa, and he gave them permission to get married when she was 14. At first, he wanted them to get to know each other, so they started going on dates. Part 2 is up. Story time about how my grandma married my grandpa when she was 14. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it's sent me on Instagram. And if you want longer story times, go to my YouTube. This is when my great-grandfather promised my 12-year-old grandma to my 27-year-old grandfather. My great-grandpa thought that it would be best they wait 2 years so that they can get married when she's 14. In the meantime, he suggested that they start going out on dates. Yes, a 12-year-old girl and a 27-year-old man. By the way, as my grandma is telling this story, all of my cousins are laughing at this. I'm trembling in my seat. She explained to us that for those 2 years, my grandfather was on his best behavior, and that essentially they read books together, they walked together by the lake, and he would take her out to see movies. She said at the time it was a big deal. Going to the movies was like a big treat. I guess it made me feel better knowing that he didn't try to do anything to her at the time. Still, it's absolutely disgusting. Finally, the 2 years passed, and at this point, they're totally in love. They get married. Both their families attended this wedding. How did no one in their families think it was inappropriate? Watching a 14-year-old get married to a 29-year-old man? But it gets worse. Part 3 is up. Storytime about how my grandma married my grandpa when she was 14 years old and he was 29. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it's sent me on Instagram. This is the third and last part, and if you want longer story times, go to my YouTube. 2 years pass and they get married. My grandma even told us that the night of their wedding, my great-grandparents gifted them a night at a hotel so that they could have some privacy. You can imagine what happened. My grandmother described it as the most liberating night of her life. 2 months later, she was pregnant. Their first baby was born right before she turned 15, and then she got pregnant again at 15, and then at 17, and then at 18, 19, and finally 20. My grandfather got into oil in his late 20s. He made about $1 million by the time he was 35, so he was able to give them a very comfortable life. He purchased a manor. They had 3 housekeepers, 1 butler, and 4 nannies, and they had a really happy life. My grandma says my grandpa was always affectionate with her, and she said they blessed their bed every single night. After she finishes telling the story, all of my cousins laugh and think it's cute. I was disturbed. I asked her why it was okay to get married at such a young age. And then I said, would you have wanted me to get married when I was 14? That's when she said that times were just different back then. The war was happening, and people didn't know if they would live or die. She also said that when a catch like my grandfather turned up, most parents were looking for a man like my grandfather to marry off their daughters. Grandpa was educated, handsome, driven, had great work ethic, and he took care of her, which is what he promised my great-grandpa. And then when the children came, he more than took care of them. He even took care of my great-grandparents too. He ended up moving them into the manor in their old age, and they were fully taken care of by the staff. Apparently, the manor was big enough to fit in 4 families. Now, I loved my grandfather. He was a great, kind man, and I myself benefited off the generational wealth. He paid for my education, and I'm now a lawyer for it. But still, a huge part of me feels absolutely disgusted with the history of their love. Even though back then that might have been normal, I think it's horrendous. Yes, they had a great love story, but she was a child. Apparently, this was a big family secret. None of the uncles or my parents wanted us to know. I got into a huge argument with my parents for hiding this from me. They think I'm totally overreacting. Am I, though? I guess I'll need more therapy. What do you think?
I got drunk at my wedding and made out with the best man. Girl, what? Welcome to the confessional. Send in your story times and I'm gonna read them on here. My husband and I got married 2 months ago. Girl, 2 months? My husband's family is Christian and they are very strict. My mother-in-law chose my wedding dress. During the planning of the wedding, my husband had his best friend with him at all times. And during that time, I caught his best friend staring at me several times. Spicy! Every time we caught each other's eye, we would just stare at each other for a few seconds and then look away. The night of our rehearsal dinner, he came up to me and asked me if I was stressed. I responded by saying yes. Then he offered me a drink. My husband doesn't really like me drinking, so we went to the bathroom and took shots together. It was actually really fun and exciting, and we both hit it off that night. If you're wondering if I felt guilty, no, I did not. We ended up drinking 3 shots each, and he almost kissed me. At least I got the feeling. Too much blush? The attraction between us was palpable, and when I looked down, his... Oh my god! His thing-a-ling was hard. Our wedding was the next night, and I couldn't stop thinking about his best friend. As I was getting ready for the wedding, he came and knocked on my door while the makeup artist was doing my makeup. Oh my gosh. And said that I looked so beautiful, he couldn't believe it. That's when the makeup artist asked him to leave and said, the groom can't be in here. That's when I said, that's not the groom. That's my husband's best friend. Oh, damn. The ceremony goes off without a hitch, and we go to the reception. This is where it gets juicy. My fiance and I had practiced a dance for us to do for the guest, but he refused at the last minute. I instantly get upset at my fiance, walk straight up to his best friend and ask him if he wants to dance. We get up, start dancing, and instantly my husband gets up to dance with his cousin? Ew. Ew, what? Why is he trying to dance with his cousin and not his new wife? That's when all the guests jump up and join us on the dance floor. After 30 minutes of dancing, he takes me by the hand, the best friend, takes me by the hand and walks me outside. Suddenly we're alone and he kisses me. The butterflies in my stomach went crazy and we couldn't stop making out. Luckily, nobody saw us. We went back to the party and pretended like nothing happened. Oh girl, something did happen. After spending 2 weeks in Greece with my husband for our honeymoon, I was completely unhappy. A little background, we had only known each other for a year before we got married. We had never even traveled together at that point, and he was being an absolute nightmare. After we got back, I decided to hook up with his best friend, and we did it. We've been having an affair ever since then. I asked my husband for a divorce, but he won't give it to me because of a visa issue. What should I do? In my professional opinion as a story timer here on TikTok, I would say be honest with your husband. Say to him that you don't want to be with him. Go be happy with a bestie. Travel with him before you get married. Everyone leave your advice in the comments. I love you guys. Bye.